Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we'll be going through a comprehensive payroll data analysis like this. As you can see, this is the dashboard portion, and this has been possible with help of Compare Data Workbook. Now in this video, I'm not going to prepare this dashboard step by step, but I will give you this file as a template. And also I'll go through each and every function and formula I've used in creating this dashboard. Now, when you download this Compare Data Workbook as a template, you'll have only 7 sheets as I explained in the earlier lectures. So you'll have instruction, last month, this month, that is old data, new data, variance, added data rows, delete data rows, and change data rows. But since you know we have changed these names in our previous lectures in the demo of Excel VBA code editing. Now to prepare this kind of solution, and I'm assuming you're going to use this workbook for this kind of practical purpose. Like in this scenario, I'm comparing 2 months pay sheets, such as December and January. So December 18 versus January 19, and I want to see each and every element, that is employee count, gross salary, basic earned, miscellaneous earned, other allowances earned, site allowances. I want to see the variances between the 2 months, and I want to reconcile it with added employee, remove employee, and variance employee. Similarly, I'm trying to compare December versus January, the average payroll. So average payroll analysis is very helpful in analyzing payment you're doing to your employees, especially in a industry where there is a manpower involved. So here in this particular variance analysis, I'm trying to compare all the variances more than 5%. So wherever there is a plus or minus more than 5%, there is a red signal. This formatting is done with conditional formatting in Excel. This basically compares earned basic pay in previous month, that is last month, and divided by number of employees. So we'll go through that step by step, but let me explain you the entire structure of this workbook and how you should ideally use this Compare Data Workbook for your analysis purpose. Now, as I mentioned, you will have these 7 sheets already available when you download that blank template. And I have added in this particular solution extra sheets you can see here. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the dashboard sheet. These are the additional sheet I have added to this template. So what is this last month sheet? So this is nothing but this month's data. So this is the old data or last month, as you can call it. And I have pasted here the raw data here, and also this month the new data I have pasted here. Now why we need to create this kind of table which is exactly same data? The reason is that when you're going to reuse this sheet, when you're going to delete the data or clear the data, it will delete all the rows. So even if you put some formula or even if you use name ranges here and try to use this data for analysis, it will fail, because once the rows are deleted or the formula or even a name range created for this particular data set, it will break immediately. So for a safeguard, you better create this kind of official Excel table, as you can see here. So this is the official Excel table, and simply I have put a formula like, if there is no value here, do not put anything. So let me show you function. So if there is no value here, that is equal to empty, put empty, otherwise put the value itself. I will assume that I'm going to analyzing fixed number of employees. So number of maximum employees in this analysis will not increase around 700. So I have kept the rows up till 719, as you can see here. And currently we have only rows up to 568. So there are total, let me just quickly count it, 566 employees. So in case this number of employee increases, this particular table will link it automatically. And the formula is calculating accordingly. And now what's the reason I'm putting this kind of empty spaces and putting the formula? Instead, I could have just directly linked it, because we want to see exact count of numbers, which will be useful in our dashboard, which I'll explain in a moment. And similarly, starting from days work column, I'm putting 0. And that is also a reason why I'm putting, instead of, you can see here, I'm putting empty space. If there is nothing in that particular sheet, last month sheet, I'm putting empty spaces. From this column onwards, from days worked, all data are financial data, so I'm putting 0. Similarly, this month table, this is additional table again, comparing this month data, is linking this month data exact same way. And the variance table is linked to this variance sheet, as you can see here. This is our main variance sheet. I'm bringing this data here. Once again, the reason we are doing this, because this particular button, clear sheet button, deletes the rows. If you delete any particular cell or row, the formula or any kind of analysis linked to it, for example, name ranges or anything, it breaks automatically. Just to safeguard, I have created these tables. And also if you are working with tables, it's a structured approach to work with data, and also you can create formulas better way with the structure formats in the tables. So I'll show you that in a moment. Now new employees is a table linked to this particular sheet, new data rows, which is created by this button. Remember, when we press this button, it brings all the data for added data, deleted data, and variance data in these 3 sheets. Now here also, when you press this button, every time it deletes the rows here and bring in the new analysis. So that means the rows are deleted here. And if you're going to use this particular sheet directly in any kind of analysis, your solution will break for sure. So again, for safeguard purpose, I have linked the data accordingly here, as you can see. So exact same structure, just in a table format linked to the original sheets here. So new employees is equal to new data rows, deleted employees is equal to deleted data rows, and variance. This is the tricky part here. This is the most important aspect of this analysis. Here, we are trying to find out what actually has changed. Based on these employees who have changed in their data set, we are trying to compare what actually happened. What is that change? So let's take an example. So I have linked this data from here. So this particular cell B3 is linked here, right? B3. And if there is nothing, we want empty space. Accordingly, the date of join, category, and department is linked. Now, the most important aspect of this Compare Data Workbook is to find out variance at cell level. So if we go to this particular sheet here, these are the most important rows in this payroll analysis. Why? Because there are changes at its cell level, and those rows and those employee codes we want to analyze between old data and new data. As I explained before in earlier lectures, these particular employees are existing in both last month and this month, but there are changes in their attributes like days worked, normal hours, holiday hours, public holiday hours. So this information we want, and we want to see how it happened, why it happened, and then do any kind of further analysis. In this sheet variance employees, since we know that these are the employees which are coming from this sheet, right? They have changes in them. So these are the rows in which there are changes. And now what are those changes and how to find that? So for that, we're going to be using a simple Vlookup function. And if you're not familiar with the Vlookup function, you can refer to the guide I have linked in the resources on my website. So this guide explains the Vlookup function in very basic and visual manner. And I'm sure you will understand the basics, fundamentals of Vlookup function following that guide. There is also a video tutorial there. So I'm sure you will understand what Vlookup actually does. So now we are trying to find out what happened between this month and last month for this employee 4312, and we're going to start with days worked. And for once we write this formula, we can just drag it because this formula is dynamic till the end. So from days worked till net earned, we want to see what actually happened, what changes has happened for this employee 4312. If you see the function I have written here, let me zoom a bit. So it's Vlookup employee code. So this is a table structure. This kind of formula will be written if you're using in table, and this is the one of the best feature of this Excel table. So you don't have to even worry about it. There is an inheritance control on errors, so there would be no error. As long as this column is there, the formula will be similar. Now the Vlookup function has 4 arguments usually. So Vlookup, so lookup value is 4312, and what is the table array? Now this is also one of the benefit of Excel table is that you can keep the table name like this, entire table name, which is the name of this table. If I go here this month, and if I go here and show you, this is the table name. So entire range will be selected automatically. So that is our table array. What is the index column? That is a column index number, which is number 5. So all this structure is same. So there will be always same number of columns. So if I go here, I have given this kind of manual inputs and I just grade it out. So it's not that important for the analysis, but it's important for the formula. So this is column number 5, starting from employee code. So either you can link this particular sheet here in this sheet, or you can link here as well. It works both ways. And then false because we want exact match. So if we highlight this and see what is the value of this. So to do that, you have to select like this and press F9, and you get number 31, which is number of days work 31 in this month. So let's go and find out and validate that. So I'll copy this employee code, go to this month table and find this employee. Here he is. So there is 31 days in days work in this month, that is in January 2019 he has worked for 31 days. Now let's go to last month table and find same employee. And as you can see, he has worked for only 2 days. So let's go back to our formula. So second formula is exactly same, only difference is that this employee's data we are looking in the last month table, which is this table, right? Exactly same formula. So what is the value of it? Let's press F9. That is 2, as I showed you before. 31 minus 2, that is 29 days. So he has worked 29 days compared to December in January 2019, right? And similarly, normal hours he has worked has increased. So positive means increase. So 31 minus 2 is 29. Similarly, if we just quickly highlight this normal hours, so he has worked for 174 hours in this month, that is January 19, and he has worked for only 16 hours, which is obvious because you only work for 2 days. So the difference between these two is 158. So similarly for entire data set, we have done this kind of variance analysis. So his net earn has increased compared to last month, obviously because there is a correlation between number of days worked and their overall pay package. So there are minuses also here. As you can see, this particular employee 4305 years worked less, so his payroll always will be less, right? And for the entire data set, we have done this kind of calculation. Now this will be really helpful in identifying any kind of variances between these two payroll sheet. Now let's go back to the dashboard. So this is the way you should ideally design your analysis using Compare Data Workbook. Now let's go to dashboard and see the real power of this analysis. As you can see here, the first section where I have put employee count, gross salary, basic earn, miscellaneous, others, site earn, attendance allowances, OT earn, holiday overtime, night overtime, public holiday overtime, and total overtime. So total overtime is nothing but total of these 4 columns, this column I to L. So total overtime, and there are deduction section here. So warning deduction, advanced salary deduction, and then also late hours deduction, and there's total deduction. So subtotal of this and net earn. So now all these things are coming from these two tables. So these two tables, as you can see here. So let's go back to dashboard. So I'm getting this number of count. So I'm simply referencing the total of the table, right? This month, last month table. So December is a last month table here, this particular table, which is coming from last month data, analysis data. Last month's actual data as per our last month main data, as you can see here. It is linked to there, and number of count is 566. But since I have put this count a function like this, subtotal count a, only counting the numbers, it's counting 566 employees. So in case this employee increases, accordingly it will count the employees, or decreases, it will show the reduction as well. So I have just linked that employee code totals in last month table here. And similarly for this month, January, this data set, the number of employees are 561, as you can see here. Now reduction of 5 employees overall from December to January, as you can see here, this minus that. Now similarly I have referenced gross salary. So this is gross salary total row. So if you go to last month gross salary here in this table, this is the value 134,148, and similarly for January it is total of gross salary. So I just drag this formula like this and it is deriving the value here. So all these cells are the total rows of these tables, last month and this month. This is the net earn, and now there is an error check, which is simple, like total salary like this. So total salary basic on till OT, and then plus overtime subtotal minus the deductions. It should be 157,428. So it should be same as net earn, right? So this is a check. So if there is any other value than 0, you should investigate. There must be some problem with the formulas or linkage, or there is some problem with the data itself. The variance is nothing but variance between two. So whenever there is a increase in payroll, overall payroll, it is highlighted as a red font. If there is any reduction, it is highlighted as a green font. So we always want our cost to go down. In a general manner, in most of the cases, we want that. So it's a green color like this, green text. And now if you come down here from row 9 onwards, we are comparing add employee remove. So this particular variance has been explained by this particular number. So there are total 566 employees in December and 561 employees in January, and there is a total reduction of 5 employees. But how exactly that happened and what is the reason behind it? So you can quickly see through from this particular analysis here. So add employee. So simply I'm referencing the add employee table from here, as you can see, which is coming from new data row sheet, our main competitor sheet segment. So how I am deriving it? So I'll go down here and go to totals. And I have made total here. Any sheet you can create a total as long as it's a text value. We just want to derive the number of rows which has data. So there are 21 employees which are new employees. So we go back to dashboard. So 21. Similarly for deleted employees, there are 26 employees. So I go to deleted employee sheet, which is a table which is deriving from our main competitor segment sheet deleted rows. So if you go down and check how many employees are, 26 employees. And there are 522 employees which has a variance in them. So the data rows which has variance are 522 between December and January. So if I go to variance sheet here, which is coming from this main sheet segment of our Compare Data Workbook. And if we go down here in the table and see 522 employees. Now how do we reconcile this? Now I have added B11, which is variance employee, then added B21 to it, and then from there I have minus B21 again with this employee. So if I make a total of 522 plus add employee, it's 543 employees. If I make total of 522 plus this 26, which is 548. So overall difference should be 5 between this, and this is minus 5 here, as you can see. And this should be same as this. So overall total should match. So the total number of employees which has change in their attributes like gross salary, basic salary, or any changes between December to January are 522. A number of employees which are new in January compared to December are 21. A number of employees who have left, who are not there for any reason, like they went on a vacation or they've been resigned or they've been fired or whatever reason they are not there, are 26 employees. So if I add number of employees came into January, 543, right? So total 543 employees ideally should be there. Minus the employees which are left are 26, right? So if I take total of these two, 548, overall variance is coming minus 5, as you can see here. And that is exactly same variance we have between overall data count, like 56 employees are there in December and 560 employees are there in January. So both are reconciling. That means our analysis is accurate. Similarly, there is an increase in overall gross salary, right? Even though the number of employee count has reduced from December to January, there is an increase in gross salary for whatever reason. So that is the reason you have to investigate further. So $41 has been overall increased. And how this 41 is increased, it is explained by this particular analysis. So similarly, here I'm comparing new employee table, this table, and I'm taking the gross salary. This particular column, gross salary 5136, and I'm minusing the remove. So added means new employees which are brought in and there is a positive impact, increase in salary, and I'm minusing. So I put minus here and I'm taking this particular gross salary row from delete employees here. So if I go to gross salary here, 5140 has been deleted. So what is the variance between these two? 4. And now what is the overall variance of employees which are already there between December and January, which is $45. So if I go to variance employee sheet here and I go to gross salary, there is a $45 difference between salaries of this employee who are existing in December and January. So if you go back to dashboard and if we sum all this up, we'll have a 41 BD, which is exactly matching here. So this way your analysis is accurate. Same way you can compare each and every attribute of this pay sheet like this, and there should be 0 here. So these two numbers should always match. So this is a comprehensive way you can analyze your pay sheet. You can even do further analysis and investigate the reasons this is happening to see your overall profitability impact from your payroll itself. So if you're in a service industry where your employees are your assets and those are the one you are earning money from, then this is the analysis you should do always each month. Now in this next section of dashboard, we are trying to compare average salary. So average salary for each division and also for each segment of salary, like gross salary, earned pay, HRA. And here also I have written a very smart formula where, for example, this particular amount, 155.39, is taking the HRA earned for alpha division for only those employees which has been paid. So the count formula has been written very smartly, where you go to last month table to this HRA earned column. As you can see here, HRA earned column here, it's going to count only the values which are not zero. So if you remember, we wrote this formula to get zero if there is no value. So these are excess rows. If you put normal count, it will always count this particular zeros as well. But we don't want to count that. We only want to count HRA paid to employees. So we want only count this particular values and number of rows. So these are the employees to whom the HR has been paid, and that also division wise. So to do that, you have to write this kind of count ifs function where you're going to count only the values which are not equal to zero. So you can do like this. So let me zoom a bit. So count this entire row, the criteria range, and there count only which values which are not equal to zero. So non-zero values to be counted. So here this particular value is 17, but this is for entire data set. But here in the dashboard, we have put one more condition. So second criteria is the division. So we are taking department range and counting only for the alpha division. So if I take the value for this particular formula by pressing F9, there are only 5 employees. So per employee HRA is 155.39. Exact same way we have done for all the divisions for each payroll element. So we are only averaging the employees to whom this particular HRA is paid in the GNA division. In the gamma division, we are only averaging employees to whom the basic earned pay has been paid. Similarly for this month data, this was the last month, this month data we have done same. But in this particular scenario, we are taking this month table as a criteria. So this month is equal to January 19 and last one is equal to December 2018. So accordingly, the average pay for department wise and also element wise we are comparing here. So total will be a little bit different where we are taking total rows. So in this total, we are counting entire gross salary or earned pay, whatever the element is, and divide by number of employees to whom this earned pay has been paid. But here all employees will come, not department wise. The count if function will have a one less argument. Only one criteria range is entire basic salary and the employees to whom it is paid. So we get average pay for entire month for each element for all the employees irrespective of department in this total column. And for the rest, as I explained, for each division wise. Same way for the January this month. And now we are comparing the analysis for the any variances above plus or minus 5%. So in this case, other allowance for GNA division has reduced from December to January, and we have to know why. So it was 54, it has reduced by 10%. So we need almost 11%, I can say that, and we need to investigate why. In Delta division also, the average earned pay has reduced, so we can investigate. And here in this scenarios, the variance is not that material, so it's not that significant. Anything less than plus 5% is not significant here. That's the conditional formatting I have given here. If you go here and check the rules, and I'm selecting these values in this cell here. Let me show you that these two values. The most important factor here is overtime. So in any manpower industry where the payroll is their main cost, and basically these industries are service industries, overtime is a main factor, and all industry wants to reduce their overtime because as usual overtime is always paid higher than the normal rate per hour. So this analysis is done accordingly. So here we are comparing alpha divisions or normal overtime, which is 1.25 in this scenario, and number of employees to whom it has been paid for that division, so which is 26.0 0, and in this month it's 30. So there is a 18% increase in average per employee over time, which is a alarming thing, and we need to investigate why it happened. And I have put also this if error function, so in case there is a 0 value, there would be a division error. As you know, Excel shows division error when you are trying to divide anything by 0. So I have put if error function here in this scenario. So there is division error, it's showing 0, so there is no value here. Now for holiday overtime for gamma division, it has reduced by 11%. So we need to know why. Reduction is always good, but then again we need to check why it is happening. The only reason can be that the holidays were more in December than January, so that's the reason holiday overtime is lesser in January compared to December. Same way net salary is also being given formula, and we are calculating the variances accordingly. You can do a very comprehensive and detailed payroll analysis, each element wise per employee for various divisions as well. So I'm going to be providing you this as a template, so you can go through the formulas and learn or apply the same concept for your own payroll analysis. Now in the last segment here, I'm trying to compare salaries overall. So this is a very simple version here. I'm just taking the entire direct staff, indirect staff and total. So entire direct staff for Alpha division, I'm taking salary for the December, that is last month. So $107,000 for Alpha division. What was the direct staff net pay? So I'm only comparing net pay here. And this was indirect staff. And similarly for this one, same scenario. And the variance is, I can investigate anything above or less than 5%. So here it looks alarming where indirect staff salary has gone down. And this is a very typical case where some employee has gone for a vacation and we didn't charge their salary to the normal payroll. It was paid through a leave salary provision. So if you're an accountant, if you're dealing with payroll, you would understand this particular scenario where it looks very high percentage, but the amount itself is not material or not significant. So this is how you do a comprehensive payroll analysis. This is the one of the example, and this is a very simple form of payroll analysis. There are many other analysis you can do. You can create pivot tables and you can do visualization as well. But I'm trying to show you the actual power of Compare Data Workbook, and this kind of analysis can be done very easily. This solution is completely dynamic, and I'll show you with an example now. As I mentioned, we have compared December 18 versus January 19 payroll. Now we want to continue this analysis each month. So now I want to compare from January to February. So how you can do that? So it's simple. I go to this month sheet, the main sheet. First of all, I'll go to this month sheet, and this data belongs to January 19, and I want to bring this data to the old sheet, right? Because we are comparing month by month. So January data now becomes last month data, since this month data would be February data, right? So simple way is to just to copy like this and paste it. Or you can do one thing, you can clear the data before you do that. So let's do that. So I'll clear the data here. And now let's bring in the January data like this. You can paste it and just ensure that there are no data rows beyond this 563 rows. So this is a complete data set for January. Now will be this month. That is old data. So let's change it to January 2019 in this cell E1 like this. And this one data would be February. There is a formula I have given here in cell E1, which takes the formula of end of the month and takes the cell value of E1 and adds 1 month to it. So we get automatically February. And I'll go to this month. And now again here you can clear the data. Let's do that first. Now in this month, so we need to bring in February pay sheet data. So I have kept it ready here, and let's take entire data set. So there are total 29 columns. As I told you, we must have a same column structure. Let's copy it and go to this month, which is February data, and paste special. Now the formatting has changed because we have deleted the row, but that's fine because we're going to be using the table which is linked to this data this month. This month table we'll be using. So let's go down and change the formatting of this state. Go to variance sheet and let's clear the sheet data to make sure that data analysis is correct. And let's click the compare sheet button. As you can see, and if you go to new rows, delete rows, we have to copy still this data. So the analysis is complete. The new data has been pasted in these 3 sheets. Added rows, so new employee came in February compared to January. This employee have left or they gone for vacation. Basically these employees were there in January but not in February. And these are the change, so the cell level changes for this employee. So these employees are existing in both January and February, but there are changes in their payment in all these different elements based on this variance sheet. And let's check our table. Now table has generated some errors, which is fine because the data were deleted. You just have to come here and paste the formula down like this. And it's gone. And you have to ensure that everything is okay. So 561 employees, remember we had only 561 employees in our previous analysis. Similarly, come here and the first row is there. Others have errors because those rows were deleted. That's fine. You just have to copy this formula down like this. Since it's a table, Excel table, copying formula down is very easy and it is more consistent and accurate. Same way for the variance table. So number of employees new are 43. Here as you can see, deleted employees are, let's check the number, 39, and variance employees also we can check quickly. So 522 employees again for the variance. Now let's go to dashboard, and in ideal scenario the dashboard should give us the analysis without any errors, any validation error. Now let's go to dashboard and see if our February data versus January data analysis is okay and all the validations are also okay. And error checks are fine. We have an error check okay, which takes the sum of all these zeros, and if it is 0 or some value like $5, which is a not significant variance, so I am keeping a tolerance of 5 here, so that is fine. And you can see overall analysis also have changed. We have brought Jan and Feb instead of December and Jan. So this is linked to this particular sheet. So once you change this value, it changes everywhere. So if you change this to whatever month end you want, it also changes here with the formula end of the month, and that has been linked here as well. Similarly, all the analysis have been updated, and now you can pass comment or investigate more what really happened. Especially this variance is above a tolerance level of plus minus 5% that you can investigate and make a report. So this is the way you can use Compare Data Workbook effectively. Only problem we had faced was that when we copied the data, the new data, and deleted the rows, this formula was ref out because the rows were deleted. The only thing that first row is never been deleted. When you press this button clear sheet, the first row is never deleted. It's just clearing the content, so it always there. So that helps in dragging your formula down like this, which takes only a few clicks and also a few seconds depending upon how large your data set is. So just drag it down entire formula. So you have to just select the row like this and just drag it down and it will work just fine. So once you do that in this 3 sheet, everywhere else it will just create the formulas accordingly. So only caution is that you need to drag the formula down from row first in this last month table, this month table, and variance table. Apart from that, everything is completely dynamic. Your dashboard will be updated just to ensure that these validation errors are under your tolerance, whatever you said. So if you want 0, so you can put 0. I have kept it 5 because 5 is okay. It won't change the overall perspective of this analysis. So this is how you use Compare Data Workbook effectively. This is the one example of payroll, and you can compare any kind of data like stock market. As we have seen in the previous example where I have compared a brief portfolio, there the approach was quite simple. I just took same sheet as variance and did the analysis. But this kind of structured approach is far better when you're going to do this kind of analysis, variance analysis of payroll every month. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or clarification, please leave them in the Q&A section. And also, as I promised, I will leave this particular dataset, including the February dataset, the separate dataset, in the resources section. And you can play around this particular analysis, apply the same to your own solution or your own analysis. And also you can see the formulas which I have written here.